All right, to have Aaron J. Carpenter, all right, come in and speak to us today during the post time. Aaron is only 23. He's just was voted into Marysville City Council, so he's elected in Ward 1, which is the Mill Valley, mostly the Mill Valley. I don't know if it's okay area. All right, he is the youngest elected official in the history of Marysville and Union County. He won the majority of the vote. There were 4 people running for this, and he won the majority, so he has been elected. He is a design engineer for Honda. He is a 2018 graduate from the Ohio State University. Where he got his Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering, cum laude honor distinction. He's a 2014 graduate from Marysville High School. He was also valedictorian, all right, which means he was the highest grade point in his class. He was a former intern for U.S. Congressman Jim Jordan and in the Ohio Senate. He's a former journalist for the Washington Examiner, former leadership and state governor counselor for the Buckeye Boys State, and former paperboy, that's big time, former paperboy for the Marysville Journal-Tribune. So we're lucky enough to have Aaron here. Make sure, all right, we are on our best behavior, listening. All right, he's got a great message to pass along to you. So right now, voices should be silent. Aaron J. Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Kirsch. It's really an honor to be here this morning. Good morning, we're still morning, right? How are you guys doing today? I just want to say thank you for everyone who made this possible. It really means a lot to me. I'm 23 years old. You guys are 7th graders, so you're what? 12, 13, 14 in that age group? I'm 23, so that means I'm just about 9, 10 years older than you, which makes me feel really old, honestly, but that's fine. As Mr. Kirsch said, I am currently the youngest person to ever take elected office in the history of Marysville and Union County. And with that, it was not an easy thing to do. There was a lot of hard work that went into making that possible. So I would like to talk to you about a couple things today, mainly about some of the things I've been involved with, what worked for my campaign, talking about goal setting and achieving, keeping a positive mindset, only worrying about the things that you are able to change and forgetting the things that you can't, determination and persistence, being the change that you would like to see in this world, dealing with adversity, and preparing for success. So, without further ado, it wasn't too long ago that I was sitting right there. I mean, honestly. I graduated from Marysville High School in 2014, which was 6 years ago, which is crazy. I've since graduated from Ohio State, and before that, I was sitting in this room 9 years ago. Went to high school. I didn't really have an interest in public service until really my freshman year at Ohio State. The president actually retweeted my tweet when I predicted that he would win. And honestly, the city council race is nonpartisan, so it's really not about Republican versus Democrat. It is about working together. Isn't that nice? I mean, shouldn't the country have more of that? That's, I think, what we need in this country. And on a local level, that's really where it can happen, and that's what I'm all about. So, I have to back up. This time last year, so 1 year ago today, I was studying for my final exams at Ohio State. I was still in school, which is crazy to me because there's so much that has happened and so many changes that have taken place in the last 365 days. I was studying for my final exams. I ended up graduating. It took me 4.5 years. I got my Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering from the Ohio State University. Go Bucks. We're going to destroy Michigan this year, by the way, just so you know. We're rooting for you until you play us. So anyways, guys. So I graduated on December, I think, 14th of last year. And then after that, I was really stoked, got my degree, mechanical engineering. Took me 4.5 years. Lots of hard work went into making that happen. And then there was an interesting opportunity that presented itself to me, and that was, so Mr. Kirsch was telling me that our state representative, Tracy Richardson, spoke with you on Monday. Do you remember Tracy? On Veterans Day?
No. Yeah.
At the Veterans Assembly. So she is our state representative, and before she took that office, she was actually our city councilman in Marysville. She was the Ward 1 city councilman, which was, the office that I was just elected to. And 3.5 years into her term, roughly, she made the decision to run for state rep. And when that happens, and she won, that means that her spot on the city council was vacated, and the city council needed someone to appoint. So there's an interview process. There was about 8 or 9 people that applied. I applied for the position. I did not get the position when I interviewed for it. So you have to imagine, I'm interviewing to be a city councilman, and I was barely 23 at the time. And I didn't get it. I'd also have you know that I ran for student council president my senior year. I also did not win that election either. So I've dealt with a lot of hardship and adversity in my life, and I have stuck through it all. And I made the decision after I knew that I wasn't going to be appointed for city council back earlier this year in January. I made the decision that I was going to work harder than anyone has ever seen in this city to win an election for the people. So my plan was, back in February, that's why I announced that I was running for city council. And I knew it was going to be a lot of work. I work a 9-to-5 job as an engineer for Honda. I design cars for a living. That's what I do during the day. And I made the decision to put in all the hard work. And what that means is I actually knocked on every single door in Mill Valley. How many of you live in Mill Valley? How many of you have been in Mill Valley or know where it is? So it's a pretty big neighborhood, right? I mean, pretty big neighborhood, wouldn't you agree?
It's like a city.
There are, in fact, guys, there's literally over 2,000 homes in that neighborhood. And in the last 7 months, I have walked up to every single door, knocked on the door, and made the effort to try to meet the person that was living there. I mean, don't you think that our elected officials should be doing this? I mean, they're really not. People who are in office, they really aren't putting forth this kind of effort, and that's, I think, what it takes to make a good public servant. And I recognized that early on. So I knocked on every single door in Mill Valley, as well as Ashton Meadows, which is the neighborhood behind the Nazarene Church off of State Route 31. Took me 7 months. And so I spent April through September knocking on every door. And then when that happened, I went around again and knocked on the door of every home who wasn't home the first time. So reality, I knocked on every door once at least, but most of them twice. So honestly, I tell you this because in order to make a difference, you have to understand what your community cares about. And the only way to do that is to get your feet on the ground, get out there, and start talking to people. And I think really that's what the country needs, is people who are willing to get out there, put themselves in the line of adversity, be yourself, unafraid to be tenacious, unafraid to be controversial, and really just get to know the issues of the people, get to know the people. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if every elected official in this country made that effort and got to know the people? I mean, wouldn't that be nice? So, I recognize that. And I think really that's why the campaign was successful, is because I put myself out there, I talked to people, I got to meet them. I met over 50% of the people that are in my district personally. I spent at least 5 to 10 minutes talking to them at their door, like genuinely getting to know about them and who they were and what affects them. And it was the most exciting time of my life. And I think really that's why I was successful. But in terms of making it happen, it was not easy. And the things that mentally I went through were not easy either. But I want to talk to you about keeping a positive mindset. So, you set goals, right? Is anyone interested? I'm curious. Anyone interested in being the president of the United States someday? Anybody?
Yeah, okay, Brandon.
Okay. What about being involved in politics in some capacity? Okay. Cool. Let's talk after this. Come see me. Hey. So, on your list of goals, you should have bullets, right? You have long-term goals, you have your short-term goals. So, when I was 22, I made a list of all long-term goals and all short-term goals that I had for myself. Long-term goal, I'll be honest with you, I would love to run for president one day. I mean, that's one of my goals. And a lot of, smaller goals under that. But City Council was one of the goals, and every single bullet point that you have, you should have, 5 to 10 subsections of that bullet point, what you need to do to make that happen. And you should hold yourself accountable. And it sounds silly, but just something as simple as literally creating a list using Microsoft Word and just putting it in your room on your door. That's what I did. So you can look at it every single day so you're reminded of the things that you're working towards. Look, each of you has a dream, right? In this life, each of you are here for a purpose. I never thought when I was 13, 14, sitting in these seats that I would be standing here today. Like, that's just a really crazy thought for me. It's really nostalgic, it's really crazy, and it's just a huge honor, honestly. I'm not too much older than you guys, I'm 23. Maybe you guys have older brothers who are my age or sisters, so. But each of you has a dream, and what I'm here to say is that I'm 23 and I was elected to office in Marysville. I believe that what I was able to do is 100% possible for each of you in your own way. You want to be a doctor, you want to be a nurse, you want to be a psychiatrist, you want to take over your family business, you want to run for office, you want to be a writer, you want to do whatever it is. You can and you will make that happen if you work hard, I promise you. It seems a lot when I was in school, middle school, high school, that you're working, right? Told that you need to do your homework, you need to get things done on time, you're working towards something. You don't really know what it is, but you know that you're working hard, right? And sometimes it's easy to forget what you're working towards. So I want to encourage you to trust the process, because someday it will start to pay off. And when it does, it is the best feeling in the whole entire world. I was working so hard my whole life. I never, really knew when it would pay off. And then I graduated college, and then I win an election. And then at that point, it's like all of it is starting to pay off. And I just want to encourage you, whenever you feel discouraged, remember who you are, remember what you're fighting for, remember, what you're trying to do, and just don't let anyone get in the way of that. It's you and the goal. Don't let anyone get in the way of that. So keeping a positive mindset, I'd like to talk about the concept of gravity. You guys know what gravity is? Yeah. Gravity, it's the force that's keeping me from floating away in the sky, right? Okay, so for your science people, someone tell me what the physical definition of gravity is. Someone. What's up? That's right. That's really good. What's your name? What's your name, sir? Leland? Nice job, Leland. Hey, so look. So gravity is the force, right? It's a physical force. It's a physical force that is keeping us from floating away in the sky. And it's largely dependent on what Leland was saying, size of planets, moving towards each other. Is there anything, Leland, is there anything that you can do to change gravity, or is it always going to be there? I mean, right, so is there anything that you can do to just prevent yourself from floating away? Yeah? That's true, but look, so gravity, the point is, it's always going to be there, right? And guys, what I really want you to understand is, no matter what, gravity is always going to be pulling you down. It's always going to be keeping you here. It's kind of a negative concept when you think about it, right? So, what I would like to say is that there are things that happen in life that are gravity. There are things in this life that you can change, and there are things in this life that no matter what you do, you will not ever be able to change them. And we spend so much time, especially in middle school, focusing on, sometimes petty things that will never, ever change. So what I would like to encourage you to do is, really consider the amount of time that you spend on focusing about things that you can't change. And then think about how much more productive you would be if you would focus only on the things that you can change. And that's what really I was able to do. And I just want you guys to remember the concept of gravity. Something bad happens to you. Oh, it's gravity. Can I change it? Yeah? Well then, focus on it. If you can't change it, spend 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds considering it. Because the longer that you consider, that you keep thinking about gravity, it will start to negatively affect you. So be proactive. That's what I'm trying to say. I want to encourage you to be the change that you would like to see in this world. There's a lot of people that have these opinions on our current events, and they're all talk, right? So I would like for you, if you would like to see this world changed, you have the ability to change it. This is a relatively small town in Marysville, 25,000 people approximately. The opportunity for change in this town, there's a vacuum of opportunity for people to just step up and fundamentally change how things are done. And I'm not, here to say that I'd like to be disruptive. That's not it at all. But I'm 23. There's people who've run the city for a long time, and it's worked. But I just think it's time for a new perspective. I just think it's important to have new ideas coming in to consider. So if there's something in this world that you'd like to change, be the change. Don't just talk about it. Actually be the change. Get out there, knock on the doors. Get out there, study for your exam. You have a C in a class, you want to get that A? Study. Turn the phone off. I know it's tempting, but just turn the phone off, study for that, get that good grade. Dealing with adversity. I could spend a lot of time talking about this. I'm not sure how much longer I have. About 5 minutes. Well, I'll leave you with this. I'd like to answer some questions. We can spend about 5 minutes doing some Q&A. But I never thought that I would be in this role when I was your age. That's what I want you to know. I was sitting in your seat. If someone were to tell me when I was 13, 14 years old that I would be addressing the 2025 graduating class in Marysville High School as their city councilman-elect, I would have called you crazy. I would have said, you're absolutely insane. That's not even real. What are you talking about? That's me? No, that's not real. But here I am, and it's the greatest honor of my life to be here. This is my first speech that I've ever given as city councilman-elect, and I would not rather give it to anybody else in the whole world. So I just want to say thank you for hearing me out. I'm on social media. If you're on Twitter and Instagram, at Aaron J. Carpenter. Love to connect. And hey, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for everyone who made this possible.